evidence of the existence of immortals in ancient Sumeria, kings living 30,000 years. Well, in our book, they're almost immortal. There are very interesting ancient inscriptions from ancient Sumeria where the kings list, the ancient Sumerian kings list, has been officially characterized as an ancient, accurate, important chronographic Mesopotamian document. It shows us something very important. The lifespan of some of these older leaders, these Sumerian kings of ancient Sumeria, are said to have lived for over 30,000 years. In addition, there is a marked steady decline in the life expectancy of these rulers, which seems to indicate a gradual decline in their life expectancy. So why did that happen? All of this, on one hand, is correctly translated description, and on the other hand, if it concerns a really accurate documentation of the history of those kings. The first part of the text is believed to date back at least 4,000 years, and it was found in the early 1900s by Hermann Helmbrecht on the site of ancient Nippur, and then it was published in 1906. At least 18 other fragments have been found, fragments of the Sumerian king list, most of which date from the second half of the Isin dynasty. Similarly, in this outrageous record of longevity is found in previous eras, as it's a recurring theme in many of these fragments. Could these claims described in the inscriptions for human lives lasting 30,000 years or more be linked to the additional claim of many that there were giants on the earth in those days? Could these giants have such a long lifespan? Could they be ordinary people? Well, we know that in the book of Genesis of the Old Testament, the first men, the first human, lived many hundreds of years. But as the time went on, they lived less long lifespans. Now, it's said that Methuselah lived close to 1,000 years. To be precise, he lived to the age of 996, or 720 according to other sources. So that is really a long time, obviously. Now, where were these kings, with their thousands of years of tenure, some kind of gods, descendants of the Anunnaki, or were they from the original first created humans? Were they Anunnaki themselves? And who were the Anunnaki? Many claim that it was an alien race that came here from the planet Nibiru, but although this theory has many followers, it's generally considered as science fiction and fairy tale by some modern neo-mythologists. Now, evidence projected and springing up through the Mesopotamian civilization seems to confirm that in the end, in the past, there were not only giants, but also human beings that existed together and coexisted. In fact, they lived simultaneously with beings who descended from heaven and were the ones who, quote-unquote, divided the first kingdoms. It also seems to indicate that some people were born after divine intervention or acquired a divine status from gods, along with the right to longevity that sometimes reaches over 30,000 years, according to the list of the reign of these kings, the Sumerian king list. Now let's read the 8 pre-flood kings during 241,200 years ruled the earth, and revealed in the list of the first Anunnaki kingdoms. The 8 pre-flood kings, that's before the flood of Noah. That's described in the book of Genesis in the Bible. The deluge, that is. One of the most interesting ancient texts is the list of the Sumerian kings. Although it seems to have been created at the end of the 3rd millennium BC, it describes pre-flood kingdoms that existed 250,000 years ago, the kingdoms of the Anunnaki. And according to this list, when the gods first gave human beings the gifts needed for society, they did so by founding the city of Eridu in the Sumerian region. The surviving clay tablets of the Sumerian king list dates to the reign of Erect Utukegal, or Uruk, which dates around 2125 BC. Uruk or Utukegal was one of the first local kings of Sumeria after centuries of Akkadian rule, including the Gutians. The first important part of the list of the Sumerian kings was published in 1906, as we said. It was found in the Library Temple of Nippur, an ancient city in Mesopotamia, which now belongs to southeastern Iraq. Since then, more than 15 different excerpts have been found, and at least one fairly complete list has been published of these Sumerian kings. Most of these manuscripts date to the first dynasty of Babylon, and everything shows an extensive and detailed agreement between them. This seems to prove that they come from the same common origin, so what has been found so far are mere copies that may be based on other older copies. The original chapter deals with the kings before the flood, as well as a list of longevity of the kings of Sumeria. There are two main versions. The surviving tablets are known as Weld Bulundel, WB 62 and 144 respectively. Both are believed to have been originally written around the beginning of the second millennium BC. And there is also a third version by Berosus, a collection of the 3rd century BC. The kingdoms before the flood. The text starts from the beginning of the story, the moment the kingdom came down from heaven and created Eridu, the seat of the kingdom. The list is characterized by extremely long-lasting kingdoms, especially the very first. 250,000 years have been assigned to the first 8 kings before the flood, while over 25,000 years only for the first 2 dynasties after the flood. So something happened after the flood that obviously changed the longevity of people. In the seat of the kingdom of Eridu, Aululim reigned 28,800 years. Al-Algar reigned 36,000 years. Then Eridu fell and the kingdom was transferred to Bad Tibira. They reigned there as follows. En-Men-Lu-Ana reigned 43,200 years. En-Men-Gal-Ana reigned 28,800 years. And Dumuzid the shepherd ruled the city for 36,000 years. Bad Tibira then fell and the kingdom was moved to Larag, where En-Sipad Zid-Ana became the king for a period of 28,200 years. He was the only ruler of Larag before his fall, and the next kingdom was founded in Zimbir, where En-Mendur-Ana reigned for 21,000 years. Now, according to the list of Sumerian kings before the flood, there were 5 cities and 8 kings who ruled for a total of 241,200 years. The kingdoms after the flood that swept everything, the kingdom came down from heaven again. Kish then became the seat of the kingdom. In Kish there were 23 kings who reigned 24,510 years, 3 months, and 3.5 days. When Kish was defeated, the kingdom was transferred to Eanna. In Eanna, Kig Eshar, son of the sun god Utu, reigned as priest and for 324 years when Mesi-Gashar entered the sea and climbed the mountains. Now, a connection with the Anunnaki. The duration of the Sumerian kingdoms before and after the flood is very different. Unfortunately, none of the pre-dynastic ancient rulers mentioned in the list have been confirmed as historical figures through archaeological excavations, inscriptions, or otherwise. So consequently, there's no evidence that they once reigned in the mythical era even before the flood. The enormous lifespan of these beings directly points to their non-existence, as they're even older than those we meet in biblical figures such as Methuselah. But where the archaeological evidence ends, the associations and connections with the Anunnaki begins, who, like the kings of the list, have a heavenly origin, since according to the 14 Enki tablets, as translated by Zachariah Sitchin, they came from the planet Nibiru, or Planet X, about 450,000 years ago. Also, their lives were framed by thousands of years, like the kings of Enki and Enlil, who must have reached or even exceeded 400,000 years. Whatever the case, and whatever the truth lies behind the recorded kingdoms with the extremely long lifespan of the Sumerian kings, this Sumerian king list remains one of the most valuable and important ancient texts that can shed light on ancient history of the Near East. This I've translated for you from 2 Greek articles from Diadrastika. Please leave your comments. Thank you. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.